Good afternoon. You don't know how happy and proud I feel to stand here amongst you. It was many years ago when Monish came to IIT Bombay to inquire about the JE pattern and things like that. I was curious. I had never met him before that. But when I heard what he was trying to do and how he was planning to scale up the activities, and when I learned the purpose, the objective behind all his efforts, my heart just went out for him. Let me tell you, I have seen many people, I have seen many rich people, I have seen many generous people. That people who are willing to put not just money, but their mind, their effort, and most importantly, their heart in such a noble cause are very rare. I would like to take this opportunity to thank him on behalf of all Indians. And of course, I don't know how it is in America, but in India, no husband can do anything, good or bad, without wife's permission. So, an absolutely excellent initiative, which is helping people and helping people to stand on their own, because that is what education does. Getting a door is much easier. Getting education is much more difficult. And people who receive that support have to work harder to justify that and to achieve something which all of you have done. So my second compliments of the day are for all of you. What you have done is extraordinary. All of you have struggled hard, worked very hard. I know that. After all, I know what IIT is and what it is to crack IIT entrance exams. It's not easy. There is also an element of chance there because, as you know, lakhs of students appear for joint entrance exams and only few succeed. So let me begin by telling you that while you have achieved something which is extraordinary, please remember that this is not the final thing that you have to do in life. हिंदी में कहेंगे तो ये एक पड़ाव है, इसको अपनी मंजिल न समझ बैठना. मंजिल बहुत दूर है. This is only a milestone. And you achieve milestones so that you can travel more miles. You just keep account of it. और ये पड़ाव बहुत शुरुआत का पड़ाव है. मंजिल अभी बहुत दूर है. अगर एवरेस्ट पे चढ़ना है आपको, तो आपने अभी एक छोटी सी टेकड़ी चढ़ी है. टेकड़ी चढ़ने में आपका इतना दम निकल गया, तो आगे कितना काम करना पड़ेगा. Never forget that life provides great challenges and great opportunities. In fact, as was observed, that this room is full of talent. Let me tell you, this whole country, this whole world is full of talent. Talent is distributed uniformly, opportunities are not. Opportunities, unfortunately, are skewed. And what Dakshana Foundation has done to you is to ensure that opportunities are given to you at this stage. You will not always be so lucky in life in future. You will have to hunt for opportunities. You will have to create those opportunities. And one thing which education does is it helps you to create opportunities, because that education will widen your thinking, will widen your horizons, will widen your knowledge of the world, and will permit your innate talent to come out best. In the process, you will have to realize something which probably you have not realized so far. Your attitude to life is actually built around kind of rat race. What is your notion of achievement, for example? You believe when you score good marks in exams, you have achieved something extraordinary. Well, that is definitely a measure of achievement. Unfortunately, that measure of achievement is a relative achievement. What are good marks? If I get 80 marks, I should feel very happy. But if in my class everybody else is getting 90 marks, I'll feel bad. If in my class everybody else is getting 60 marks, I'll feel I am the king. Essentially, I compare myself relative to others. That is what results in a rat race. Unfortunately, rat race is very common. Today, you have participated in a rat race for marks. You will later on see that people will participate in the rat race for earning money, rat race for getting positions. The rat race is inescapable. But please remember what a rat race does. Every rat race creates a few winners and a large number of losers. The winners acquire overconfidence, sometimes resulting in arrogance. I am a winner rat, so I am the king. I will do whatever I please to do, which is of course nonsense. Loser rats, on the other hand, acquire diffidence, which often results in despondence. People give up. People say, मेरे से जमेगा नहीं, मैं हर rat race में हार रहा हूँ. Is that the right thing? One should remember that, and this will happen in any rat race by the way. There will always be a few winner rats and a large number of loser rats. But only rats, not human beings. And that is the point I want you to remember, that you are human beings, the greatest creation of God, and you therefore cannot let your attitude be formed by winning or losing in a rat race. Because of the rat race, I will tell you how it would have affected your attitude. After doing any task, you will always be comparing yourself with others. If you have done it better than them, or if you have done it worse than them. I humbly submit that that greatly limits both your achievements and the furtherance of your capabilities. Why? Because in the process, you forget to ask one very important question to yourself. If there is a certain task which I have done, instead of looking at that task as whether I have done it better than others or whether I have done it worse than others, suppose I ask this important question to myself. Could I have done it better? ये जो भी मैंने किया है, क्या मैं इससे अच्छा कर सकता था? इस सवाल का जवाब हमेशा हाँ ही होता. I learnt it when I was a young student like yours. I was not fortunate to study in a single school. I had studied in 14 different schools. Let me shake hands with the great man first. So I was studying in 9th standard in a town called Raipur. It was one of the bigger towns where I could study out of the 14 schools. And in one exam, I remember I went home very happily saying, telling my mother I got my maths paper returned that day. I scored 96 or 100. And my mother simply asked me what happened to the 4 marks. So I said, Mother, I have stood first in the class. And in response, I got a slap on my face. And I was shocked. I thought I'll be congratulated. I should be complimented. So she told me the slap is not because you scored 96 marks or you lost 4 marks. The slap is because you are claiming that you stood first. And that is nonsense. Have you seen why you lost those 4 marks? Could you have got those 4 marks had you applied your mind? She said, I couldn't care less if you had got only 40 marks instead of 96. But those 40 marks should be maximum that you should have been able to score. She taught me that I have to always ask this question, could I have done better? And the answer, unfortunately, is always yes. It has taken me so many years to realize that the answer is always yes. I would submit, please try to do this after everything that you do in life. Comparative evaluations is what is mandatory in a rat race. But an independent personal evaluation of oneself is what is mandatory if you really want to achieve success. Because that is what will improve you. A comparative thing will result in either an elation or a depression. But a personal evaluation will permit you to find your errors, find your mistakes, and improve yourself. I believe it's a very important lesson to remember, which unfortunately the current world full of rat races does not teach us. Rat races, of course, we have to participate because there are 7 billion rats in this planet in the form of human beings. So we cannot avoid that completely. But we can avoid letting that rat race dictate our attitude. So please remember that you have to learn to evaluate yourselves and to become better and better and better. Towards that, there are a few things which I would leave for your consideration later. But this is perhaps the most important thing. In the same form, the achievement measures, which as I said, marks, money, these are of course important things in life. As was correctly said, poverty is completely unnecessary. I will go one step further and I will say that to be poor is to be very stupid. Only stupid people can be poor. And you are all smart people. In India, we have as smart people as there are anywhere else in the world. Remember what I said, talent is uniformly distributed. So, if we are so smart, why are we so poor as a nation? My own analysis says that we are individually very smart, but when we work collectively, we work very stupidly. And that is the reason why the society does not advance. It means that when you move forward, you have to learn to work together with others. Because it is only working together that you will be able to achieve much more than what you can ever achieve alone. Your achievement measures should also include something much more than what you achieve for yourself. As I said, prosperity is important and you should become very rich. You are not stupid people, but let that richness, let that prosperity be generated ethically and legally. It is very, very important to not cut corners and not to do things which, forget the rest of the world, forget the laws, forget the rules, which you yourself think is not good. There will be temptations in life to take shortcuts. The ethical journey is a lifelong journey, and human life is full of temptations. You will be tempted at variety of points. Today, you form the opinions of ethical behavior based on whatever, not just you read, but whatever you observe around. And if you observe many other people taking shortcuts, you may be tempted to think that it is okay. A friend of mine, a past student of IIT Bombay, an illustrious alumnus, Manohar Parikar, who currently happens to be the defense minister, in one of the alumni enclave, he told us a story about how a father was trying to teach ethics to his son. The son has stolen some papers from his school and brought them home. And the father was shouting at him, "Why did you steal papers from your school? Did I not give you enough papers from my office?" You see, if this is how a father behaves, what will son think? Son will think that this is all right. Okay. So I should not steal papers from my school, but whenever I get an opportunity from my workplace, I can quietly take things that I want. Ethics, my dear friends, is neither taught nor learned by books. It is taught and learned by experiences and by the conduct. Let your conduct be so spotless that not even a small blemish anybody should be able to point in your behavior in future. I believe that the great success that you will achieve will become still greater if it is achieved with a spotless record, a blemishless record of behavior. Please remember, it's not a simple journey, because as I said, there will be temptations. In the institute where I teach, there are people, I have seen very smart people, all like you, falling for such temptations, taking shortcuts. This year alone, in the last semester, when I taught CS 101, one of my students whom I could not recognize, there were 545 of them, we had to give penalty grades to 10 students, giving them a fail grade because they attempted something mischievous during the examinations. They copied, they modified things, etc. 10 students out of 543. Statistically, it's a small number. But for me, each of those 10 are 10 great human beings. Had they avoided that temptation, they would have become 10 great people. Today, they would stand demoralized because they were given this punishment. I am now worried more about 20 others who might have done this, but they were not caught. They might feel that it is okay as long as you don't get caught, I can do anything. I will suggest a very simple acid test. हर दिन सवेरे जब आप उठें और अपने आप को आईने में देखें, तो आप आईने की आंखों में आंखें मिलाने की कोशिश कीजिए. अगर आप आंखें मिला के देख सकते हैं, तो आप सही कर रहे हैं. अगर आपकी आंखें झुक गई, तो आपने कल कोई गलती की. Your head should always stand high and proud, and your eyes should be able to see anybody, including your own image, in the eyes. That, my dear friends, requires tremendous amount of discipline. Discipline is not just a Fauji discipline, in left, right, and big man. Discipline is in your entire behavior. And what good is the discipline if everything is cozy and there are no challenges? Discipline is to fight against the temptation, howsoever momentary. That I shall not do this, period. अगर मेरा सिर कट गया तो कोई चिंता नहीं है, लेकिन मैं गलत काम नहीं करूं. I will tell you one thing. When you grow old, and when your children and grandchildren and others in this society are looking at you, you will see that they look at you with a far greater respect if your conduct has been spotless like this, not because of your riches. I would strongly suggest, because you are very young and the temptations are still waiting for you ahead in life, please be very, very careful to avoid. Mistakes may happen, but mistakes must be corrected, must be accepted. We are all human beings, we are not gods. We may make mistakes. लेकिन गलतियों की आदत नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. और हर गलती को अगर देख लें कि हाँ ये गलती हुई है, मुझसे गलत हुआ है, ये काम फिर से नहीं होगा, अगर ये आप ठान लें, तो कोई आपको डगमगा नहीं सकता. टेम्पटेशन से दूर रहे. I am sorry for stressing this, but I think in today's world, these are, I believe, very, very important. You are all very capable people, and capable people are required to lead the world. They have the capability to lead the world. Fortunately, you have started with great opportunities being presented by Dakshana Foundation, and you will build on this foundation a great career, I am sure of. When you do so, build it with a matter of great human pride in proper conduct. the way to go ahead in life will require, as I said, require you to very carefully nurture some very basic qualities in life. The first one is never to lose self-confidence. A loss in a rat race forces you to lose confidence. And rat race does not produce absolute winners and absolute losers. परीक्षा ले लीजिए आप, परीक्षा में अच्छे नंबर मिल गए, सब अच्छा हो गया, लेकिन मुझे उस IIT में एडमिशन चाहिए था, वहां नहीं मिला, मुझे कंप्यूटर साइंस चाहिए था, वो नहीं मिला, मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग, इससे भी डिफिडेंस आ सकता है, नहीं आना चाहिए। आपका सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस जिस दिन कम हो जाएगा, आपकी अवनति शुरू हो जाएगी, उन्नति खत्म हो जाएगी। Because you see, we are all born in normal, humble circumstances. हम में से कोई निजाम का पोता नहीं है कि कुछ भी काम नहीं किया, कुछ भी नहीं किया, जीते हारे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ऐसा नहीं है। हमें अपने हाथ पैर हिला के ही कुछ आगे करना, उसके लिए सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं होना। कठिन प्रश्नों के उत्तर ढूंढने का प्रयास करना बहुत जरूरी है। You know why IIT system is different? In IIT we believe in one thing: solving 10 simple problems correctly will give you a lot of pleasure and happiness, but may not add to your knowledge. Attempting to solve 10 very difficult problems and not getting a single problem solution correctly will give you a lot of frustration, but will give you a lot of knowledge. IIT system is about challenging your mind with difficult problems, challenging your mind with problems which nobody has solved, because we expect you to solve such problems for humanity, and you cannot solve them unless you attempt the difficult problems. और difficult problems में solve करने की जो जरूरत है, जो आवश्यकता है, वो आज का एजुकेशन कई बार हमें नहीं देता। IIT के लिए तैयारी करते समय आपने कठिन प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने की कोशिश की होगी, लेकिन कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता है तो उसको आप छोड़ देते हैं। छोड़ना नहीं चाहिए। टैलेंट की बात करते हैं, आप सब टैलेंटेड तो हैं, लेकिन मैं आपको एक बात कहना चाहूंगा कि दुनिया में ऐसा कोई इंसान नहीं है जिसके पास इतना टैलेंट नहीं है कि कोई भी कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर सके। Am I saying that all human children are exactly like you? I would say almost. There is a difference in the intellectual capability as measured by IQ tests and as measured by examination. But the basic capability that God has endowed every human being with in the human brain is extraordinary. So let me give you an example. Have you tried to study a foreign language? Nobody has tried to study foreign language. Okay. You know some people who have studied foreign language, French, German, Arabic, पढ़े हुए कुछ लोग तो आप जानते होंगे। तो जिन्होंने ऐसी फॉरेन लैंग्वेजेस पढ़ी, आप समझते होंगे अरे वाह कितने इंटेलिजेंट आदमी है, कितना काम किया, देखो फॉरेन लैंग्वेज बोल लेते हैं। Let me ask you one question. So you agree that learning a foreign language is a difficult thing, not very easy? Yet every human child learns a foreign language between the age of 3 to 5 years, which is later on called the mother tongue of the child. I have learned it when I was 3 years old. You have learned it when you are 3 years old. Somebody who today gets 40% marks also learned the mother tongue when he or she was 3 years old. How? Every child is capable of expressing itself sufficiently well to the parents in the mother tongue. The child does not go to school. Child does not give any examination. The child is not scolded for getting 30 marks, nor the child is elated for getting 90 marks, no marks. Yet the child learns this. How? You know why? My analysis says that every human child has three extraordinary characteristics endowed by the God from the time of birth. What are these characteristics? The first one is curiosity. All children are extremely curious. What is this? What is that? What is that? You would have seen your younger cousins or nephews or nieces. देखा आपने हर बच्चे कितने curious रहते हैं, ये क्या है वो क्या. The second characteristic that the children have is they are very bored. They'll keep asking questions perpetually. बराबर सब बच्चे सब ये क्या है वो क्या है. And sometimes they ask very embarrassing questions, but they keep asking questions. This curiosity and boldness is an amazing mixture which actually permits learning. When you go to the school, अब मुझे याद है मैं 5वीं कक्षा में पढ़ता था, कौन सा शहर था वो, 7वीं में रतलाम में था, याद नहीं. वहाँ पे मुझे भी बड़े सवाल पूछने की आदत. तो एक दिन शिक्षक ने कहा चुप रहो, कक्षा का वर्क समय बर्बाद मत करो. समय चुप हो गए. उसके बाद I realized that I had actually stopped asking more questions. Why? Because my boldness was curtailed. And then I realized my curiosity was getting curtailed. And then I realized that my learning was getting curtailed. There is a third extraordinary characteristic that every child has, which is perseverance. A child never gives up. Have you seen a child giving up particularly about a naughty idea? मान लीजिए बच्चे को ये दिखी यहाँ पे ग्लास दिखे तो उसकी इच्छा है कि टेबल पे चढ़ पे ग्लास नीचे फेंके. You agree that all children like to do such fancy stuff? तो बच्चा क्या करेगा, उधर से आके चढ़ेगा, 2 बार गिरेगा, तीसरी बार इधर से चढ़ेगा, आवाज होगी, माँ आएगी उसको पकड़ के डांटेगी, कोने में खड़ा करेगी, 5 मिनट रोएगा, 5 मिनट के बाद फिर इधर उधर देखेगा, फिर इधर आएगा, चढ़ने की फिर कोशिश करेगा, फिर 2 बार गिरेगा, फिर बाद में कहीं से स्टूल लेके आएगा, उसके ऊपर चढ़ेगा, 10वीं बार 11वीं बार जब वो चढ़ेगा ऊपर, फिर वो ग्लास लेगा, फेंकेगा नीचे, और जब ग्लास टूटेगा तब आनंद से नाचेगा. Agreed? When did you last dance with such joy? I'm not suggesting you start climbing on the tables and breaking glasses. But the point I'm making is that when you were children, you never gave up. Are you sure that you have retained that attitude today? Do you try 10 times, 11 times, 20 times if a problem is not solved? You probably, when you were in 5th standard, you tried 4 times, 5 times. When you were in 9th standard, you tried 3 times. Now you try once. If you don't get it, leave it. Let me ask you this question. In the joint entrance examination, mains and advanced, you appeared, you gave the exam, you got score, whatever you got. I am sure there were some questions which you could not solve. How many of you afterwards have gone back, hunted out those problems and attempted to solve them? You did not, because your challenge was over, because the rat race was over. A child is not participating in a rat race. A child is doing it for its own pleasure, its own learning. That is where learning is. Persevere, never give up. As we grow up, we lose our curiosity, we lose our boldness, and we lose our perseverance. In fact, you will notice, study the leaders that you see everywhere. In any field, you will find that all those leaders have retained these 3 characteristics. They have not lost their curiosity, they have not lost their boldness, and they have not lost their ability to persevere. ये 3 कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स भगवान ने दी हैं, इन्हें कम मत होने दीजिए, इन्हें बढ़ाइए, आपको अवश्य फायदा होगा. मुझे हुआ है, मैंने सबको फायदा होते हुए देखा. But you have to now consciously do that, because the world and the rat race does not teach us, the environment does not teach us. There are stupid teachers like me who will say, sit down, don't disturb the class. All right, if a teacher like me tells you this, you sit down, but go out and then again ask him, I am not disturbing the class, sir, now tell me the answer. Ask your friends, ask yourself. In the ultimate analysis, you don't need a teacher. The child, 3 years old child, did not need a teacher, did not need exams, did not need anything, and yet the child learned a foreign language. May not be as well as some other children, but adequately well to express itself. That is the point I am trying to make. So please remember to not only retain but cultivate and nurture curiosity, boldness and perseverance. When you go to IIT system, you will automatically find that you are perpetually challenged with harder problems. Okay. The trick is to see whether you see the challenges and rise up to the challenges as the child does. I have, so I'll tell you 5 things which I think will be very useful to you in your career. First is acquisition of knowledge has to remain your perpetual dream. There is nothing like end of school or end of college in life. Life is a place of perpetual education. I am still learning new things at the age of 67. Monish is still learning. Everyone is still learning. But that we discover only as we progress further. Otherwise, at every stage we may think कि हो गई पढ़ाई अब काम करना. काम का मतलब पढ़ाई ही करना. Acquisition of knowledge is perpetual because knowledge is expanding vastly. And you have to keep learning new things. So don't ever underestimate the need to spend quality time throughout your life to acquire new knowledge wherever it is essential. To acquire the knowledge, you also have to master the skills in your own profession, in your own this thing. So when you are studying engineering, for example, don't hesitate in plunging yourself into workshop practice. You have to dirty your hands, as we say. Otherwise, you cannot be a good engineer. You have to be very meticulous and you have to work very hard. There is no substitute for hard work. You know, this human written record of 4,000 years of history, there have been many smart people, many people smarter than all of us. All of them have tried desperately to find a substitute for hard work. आज तक किसी को नहीं मिला ऐसे. So hard work से मत हिचकिचिए. Hard work कैसे करेंगे? Time तो 24 hours रहता है, उसमें से how much time do you use meaningfully? How many hours do you sleep? On an average? 5? 6? 8? At my age, I don't get to sleep more than 4 hours a day. I'm not suggesting that you all become mad people like me. Because even if you sleep 0 hours a day, you will still need time to do something. There are only 24 hours. I would suggest 2 things. One, optimize your time. I have colleagues who sleep 8 hours a day and they are able to accomplish more than I do in the remaining time, although I work more time, because they optimize their time, they manage their time better. Time management का skill सीखिए. And about sleeping time, if you sleep for 8 hours, मैं एक आपको नुस्खा बताता हूँ जिससे आप अपना sleeping time कम कर सकते हैं. आप अपना average time अपने आप तय कीजिए, 8 घंटे, 6 घंटे, 7 घंटे जो भी है, और फिर तय कीजिए कि एवरेज टाइम में 15 मिनट कम सोऊंगा रोज. कैसे गिनेंगे? एवरेज टाइम है. हर रात को जब नींद आ जाए, सोने के टाइम में आप अब सोने जा रहे हैं, तो बस उस समय रुक जाइए और 15 मिनट के लिए कोई ऐसा काम कीजिए जो आप नॉर्मली आपके प्लान में नहीं. कोई नई किताब पढ़िए, डायरी लिखिए, कुछ ऐसा काम कीजिए जिसके लिए आपने अलग से टाइम टेबल में शेड्यूल नहीं किया. 15 मिनट, फिर 15 मिनट के बाद सो जाए. ऐसे 2 हफ्ते करेंगे तो आपका एवरेज स्लीपिंग टाइम 15 मिनट कम हो जाएगा, विदाउट डिस्टर्बिंग योर हेल्थ. और ऐसे आप करते रहेंगे तो टाइम और कम कम होता जाएगा। लेकिन अगर आपको लगे कि आपके स्वास्थ्य पर असर पड़ रहा है या आपका दिमाग ठीक से नहीं चल पा रहा है हर क्षण जब आप जगते हैं, तो वो ये काम बंद करें। मैंने बहुत से मेरे विद्यार्थियों को ऐसा प्रयत्न करते हुए देखा है और ये सब ने माना है कि कम से कम एवरेज 1 घंटा स्लीपिंग टाइम में से वो कम कर सकते हैं। अब देखिए 24 घंटे में से आप जितने भी x घंटे काम कर रहे हो, अगर आपको 1 घंटा ज्यादा मिल गया काम के लिए तो आपके हाथ से कितने और काम हो जाए, ये किया जा सकता। सो एज आई सजेस्टेड, डोंट बी अ मैड फेलो लाइक मी. Of course, I get ample opportunities to sleep whenever in flights, in cars, wherever I am traveling, I go to sleep. God has been very kind to me. अगर यहाँ मैं लेट जाऊँ तो अभी सो जाऊँगा 2 मिनट. सबको ऐसी नींद नहीं आती. But try to minimize your wastage of your time. Sleep, as long as it recovers your body, is good. Sleep which otherwise is useless, is a waste of time. Whatever is the time required for your healthy body, you must sleep. Whether it is 4 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, it doesn't matter. But try to minimize the wastage part of that sleep time and try to maximize the time for which you are awake. So manage your time. ये time management बहुत मुश्किल है, मुझे आज तक जमा नहीं है. मोनिश वगैरह लोग अच्छा कर लेते हैं, लेकिन we'll have to learn to manage time properly. You have to develop a sense of duty and honor in every work that you do. ये ड्यूटी बड़ी भयंकर चीज है. हमारे हिंदुस्तान में ड्यूटी के लिए एक बड़ा अच्छा शब्द है, उसका नाम है धर्म. धर्म का मतलब रिलीजन नहीं होता. जैसे मैं शिक्षक हूँ, मेरा एक शिक्षक धर्म है. अगर आप ड्यूटी वेस्टर्न सेंस में जज करें तो दैट अमाउंट्स टू हाउ मेनी आवर्स फॉर अ डे यू वर्क. यू वर्क फॉर 8 hours a day, you are doing your duty diligently. हिंदुस्तान में जो शिक्षक का धर्म होता है उसको घंटे गिनना नहीं सिखाता, उसको ये सिखाता है कि अगर तुम शिक्षक हो तो दिन रात तुम्हें शिक्षक की तरह ही सोचना चाहिए, शिक्षक की तरह ही बर्ताव करना चाहिए. सो योर एटीट्यूड and your behavior for that duty is defined by what? आप विद्यार्थी हैं, आपका धर्म है विद्यार्जन. उस धर्म को न छोड़िए. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हर क्षण आप वो विद्यार्जन ही करते हैं. आप कभी पिक्चर भी देखेंगे, खेलने भी जाएंगे, सब कुछ करेंगे, लेकिन आपके दिमाग का स्थायी भाव जो है वो विद्यार्जन होना चाहिए. That, in my opinion, is the sense of duty. The sense of honor is to live honorably, as I have already mentioned. More importantly, you live in a society, so try to be a very trusted friend. Try to be a friend for others. Try to be concerned about others. Sometimes, again, the rat race of the world does not permit you to be concerned about others. It only permits you to think on how you will conquer the others. But concern about others, friendship with others makes a lot of sense. Remember one thing, when you have genuine concern about others, you will suddenly find that the whole world has concern about you as well. The concern reciprocates very fast. And it cannot be a make-believe. आप नाटक नहीं कर सकते concern. Concern दिल से आना चाहिए. आपके आजू बाजू में जो भी लोग हैं, आपके मित्र हों, आपके परिचित हों, अपरिचित हों, any human being that you see, or I'll go to the extent of saying any life form that you see, you should have a genuine concern. If anybody needs help, you should be willing to offer that help in any form that you can. It will give you the greatest sense of satisfaction. I can vouch for that. It will give you a great sense of satisfaction. One more thing I would suggest is try to learn from people who do good things and good acts. Try to emulate what is good in others. हम लोग अच्छाइयों के लिए रोल मॉडल ढूंढते हैं। अभी हमारे लिए रोल मॉडल बड़े बड़े नाम होते हैं और रोल मॉडल होते हैं, महात्मा गांधी रोल मॉडल होते हैं। You take all religious leaders, whether it is गौतम बुद्ध और मोहम्मद पैगंबर और जीसस क्राइस्ट, ये सब हमारे लिए रोल मॉडल हैं। लेकिन मैं आपसे कहना चाहूंगा कि रोल मॉडल होने के लिए इतने बड़े बड़े लोगों के होने की आवश्यकता नहीं। मेरी एक थियरी आपके साथ में शेयर करना चाहता हूँ। इट इज कॉल्ड हाइपोथेसिस, फाटक्स हाइपोथेसिस, बिकॉज प्रूफ नहीं हुआ है उसका। वो हाइपोथेसिस ऐसा है दैट यू सिलेक्ट 10 people randomly, 10 people, any 10 people. Now you take 2 papers. On one paper, you write down all the desirable traits, characteristics and features of the 10 people. तो आपको उनके नामों की जरूरत नहीं हो, traits लिखना। Somebody is very meticulous, somebody is very hardworking, somebody is very sensitive, somebody is very kind, somebody is very punctual. You will write all of those traits. ये कागज रख दीजिए बात। अभी वही 10 लाख लोग हैं और उन 10 लोगों में से ऐसी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक लिखे दूसरे कागज के जो बुरी। Somebody is very arrogant, somebody shouts at you, loses temper, somebody does not come in time at all, somebody does not behave well with people. 2 लिस्ट हो गई, आदमी तो वही 10। अगर आप पहला कागज देखेंगे तो आपको मिलेगा एक आइडियल इंसान, उससे बढ़िया कोई हो ही नहीं सकता। सब कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स अगर एक पे आ गई, भगवान आ गया। और अगर खाली दूसरा कागज देखेंगे तो आपको प्योर दानव मिलेगा। What does it mean? It means that every human being that we relate to or we see has several good points and several bad points. Unfortunately, when we evaluate these people, we evaluate them again in the context of rat race. हमें लोगों की बुराइयां ही नजर आती हैं और अपनी केवल अच्छाइयां नजर आती हैं। होना उल्टा चाहिए। I will tell you, when I applied this principle in 1971, when I became a teacher, I wanted to become a teacher who will make a difference. So I wanted to know what a good teacher is. And I did this. I selected 10 teachers randomly. And I prepared these 2 lists, not in the context of general description, but what was the speciality of a teacher in the teaching attribute. And then, for 1 year, I was attending occasional classes of these 10 teachers to learn those respective things. There was one teacher whose board work was so marvelous that he will speak for an hour, but what he writes on the board, if you have just noted that down, you can recall the entire lecture. I used to attend that and see how that board worked. There was a teacher whose sense of time was phenomenal, maths professor, still my colleague. His class will start at 8:30 with a theorem and class will end exactly at 9:25 with QED. Not done artificially, interaction, everything else, but perfect sense of time. There was a professor whose behavior with students was so extraordinary. I remember one instance I must share with you in a class because it relates to some earlier thing which I have mentioned. He was Professor Bedford, was retired long time ago. So I was attending his class. He was also my teacher, but this time I was attending his class to understand how he behaves so nicely with people. So I was noting it down. And one student asked him a stupid question. Very simple question. Of course, people started looking at him, but Bedford answered. After 10 minutes, the student asked again the same question. And everybody in the class was irritated. But Professor Bedford quietly went to the board and says, you have a point, but perhaps you can see it from this angle. And he again explained it. We thought the matter was over. 5 minutes before the end of the class, that fellow again asked this question. And this time, you can see the class was visibly upset. But Bedford was not. He went back to the board, smiled at him and said, I can see that you have still not understood it. Let us take another example. And he tried to explain it, giving that example. The class ended and I was walking with Bedford. I said, Bedford, could you not see that that was a very stupid question he was asking? So he stopped. He says, Phatak, you're right, the question was stupid. But the student was not. Please remember, like you and me, he is an IIT. He could not see the answer correctly. But if I had told him that this question was stupid, he would have stopped asking questions. And that would have hurt his learning for the rest of his life. You see how valuable thing I learned in teaching from that one episode. It's not taught in the books anywhere. So please look at the 10 people. I will tell you my own lessons in ethics. I have learned from all kinds of people, including some very ordinary people. I'll tell you just one episode. There are many in your life you would have seen. No, I'll tell you two. Sorry, it'll take 5 minutes. There was one chess player. I used to play chess tournaments in 70s. There's one chess player called Abdul Jabbar from Maharashtra. He came from Nagpur. He was a 7th standard, 6th standard matric भी नहीं हुआ था, 6th standard तक पढ़ा होगा. जुलाहा community से आता था. अंग्रेजी लिखना पढ़ना नहीं आता. When he started playing tournament chess, he had to write chess moves. Pawn, king, 4. So he learned those alphabets which were required in English to write. And 1 to 8, I don't think he ever wrote 9 because there are only 8 squares, 8 rows and 8 columns on a chessboard. But he was a marvelous chess player. He would come in the ordinarily dressed. He used to wear canvas shoes without socks. In one of the tournaments in Matunga, after one round, he came out and he was asking, where is Jhandu, which bus goes to Jhandu Pharmaceuticals? Jhandu Pharmaceuticals is a place in Parel whose canteen was given to Bombay Chess Association by the owners for a long time. So the Maharashtra Chess Association secretary was standing with me, Sakakar, asked him, क्यों भाई वहाँ क्यों जाना है? Then he said कि मैं नागपुर चेस एसोसिएशन का कोई काम है, कुछ कागज मुझे वहाँ देने हैं और वहाँ से कुछ कागज लेने. तो साखाकर बोला, अरे एसोसिएशन का काम है ना, तो टैक्सी से जाओ, वो टैक्सी का किराया देंगे. You know what that 5th standard pass Julaha fellow replied? साहब, मैं अपने काम के लिए अपने पैसे खर्च करके टैक्सी से नहीं जाता, तो एसोसिएशन के काम के लिए मैं कैसे टैक्सी के पैसे खर्च करूं? Can you see the ethics in this? It made such a deep impression. I then started analyzing. I used to be hosted. Even now I am hosted by people. They invite me for conferences. They give me airfare, 5-star accommodation, whatever. In those days, it used to be first-class train fare and things like that. But I decided to do one thing. I said, at least once in a year, I will attend a conference entirely at my own cost and see whether it pinches me. If it does not pinch me, then and only then I am justified in getting hosted by others. In fact, when my wife learned that I am doing these ethical practices at her cost, because it's her money, she said. My wife has a very simple definition. Her money is her money, of course, and my money is also her money. So then we found out a beautiful solution. I said, you also come with me. So she has also started accompanying. These trips in my family are called Jabbar trips in honor of that Jabbar who taught me this. And I tell you, it's a great pleasure in realizing that yes, I am spending somebody else's money only because I am willing to spend my own money for that cause, not otherwise. Since you are students, the second story I will relate to happened about 4 or 5 years ago. Again, in a CS 101 class, which one of the medalists was a student of mine. That year we did an experiment in IIT to train all 950 students in one semester only instead of breaking them into 2 semesters. I was asked to teach that course. I taught it in our convocation hall, large class. After the mid-semester, I displayed a slide of top performers. I called it an honor list. Honors list where there were names with, there were 45 mark paper, I think, 44, 43, 42, something like that. There were some 10 people here. After the class, one of the students in the first bench said, "Sir, मेरे दोस्त का नाम भी इसमें आएगा." So I said, "क्यों गलती है क्या?" नहीं बोले, "His paper has gone for re-examination to teaching assistant because उसके एक question evaluate नहीं हुआ." तो वो बोले उसको 2 नंबर मिलेंगे, उसको 41.5 अभी स्कोर है, उसका 43.5 हो जाएगा, तो उसका नाम भी आपके ऑनर्स लिस्ट में आ जाएगा. I said, ask him to send me an email, I'll be very happy to do that. 2 दिन बाद उस बच्चे की मुझे मेल आई. Says, my friend told me that if my paper gets revised in evaluation, I should inform you. I got my paper today, and I indeed got 2 marks for the unevaluated portion as I had expected. But I just counted the total to be sure, and I found out that the original totaling was wrong. There were 2 extra marks given to me by wrong totaling. So when I did this total again, I found out that my score should not be 43.5 but only 41.5. I request you to kindly make the correction in your records. Please remember, it was not necessary for him to do so. हमारे टीचिंग असिस्टेंट ने उसके 43.5 मार्क्स हमारे रिकॉर्ड में लिख लिए थे. वो अगर चुप बैठता, कुछ नहीं बोलता, 43.5 भी मुझे लिख देता, मैं उसका नाम ऑनर्स लिस्ट में डाल देता, उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ा. ऑल्सो डोंट फॉरगेट कि IIT सिस्टम में जब 500-900 लोगों की क्लास होती है तो ग्रेड्स जो होती है, फाइनल ग्रेड आधे मार्क्स से कम ज्यादा हो. उस बच्चे को A ग्रेड नहीं मिली उस विषय में क्योंकि वो 2 मार्क उसके कम पड़ गए. He lost his A grade by half mark, but still he said, of course he didn't know that. वो ग्रेड तो बाद में मिली. जब ये ग्रेड मुझे मिली, उसका मेल मुझे मिला, तो नेक्स्ट डे इन द क्लास आई पुट अप हिज नेम, एडिशनल नेम इन द ऑनर्स लिस्ट करके टाइटल देके खाली उसका रोल नंबर लिखा, नाम लिखा, मार्क्स नहीं लिखे. और फिर मैंने लोगों को कथा सुनाई कि देखो इस बच्चे ने ऐसा मुझे मेल भेजा. So I believe that he deserves to be in the honors list. Do you agree? Everybody clapped. That clapping was larger than the clap for all the 10 people who had actually scored high marks, because they respected this ethical behavior. Please understand that he sacrificed his A grade in an extremely competitive environment, which he lost ultimately by half mark. But he did not compromise with the fundamental honesty and honor. अब ये उस बच्चे ने मुझे सिखाया. All I meant was, you just look around you. You don't need great names as role models. Your own friends, unknown people, they have a lot to teach us. बस हमारी आंखें और मन खुला रहना चाहिए, और हमें इतनी हिम्मत होनी चाहिए कि हम उसको इम्यूलेट कर सकें. If you can do that, I tell you, there is nothing in this world that you cannot achieve. I'm sorry, I can go on and go on. I'm a teacher and I'm a storyteller, but I will not bore you more. I would only like to tell you that you are not just talented, but you are very fortunate. For every talented person sitting in this hall, there are at least 20 similar to you. You would know them. They may be in your own class. I will conclude by one more story of a boy whom I met 15 years ago and who actually changed my thinking about life significantly, about the Indian education system. आप ही जैसा एक बच्चा था वो. There is a place called Wada, about 60 kilometers from Bombay. I was called to give a talk in Marathi on information technology. In late 90s, as you know, information technology was on the great spree. So I went there. I was told that there are students from the tribal area, okay, who would like to attend. So there are about 300 students, 9, 10th, 11th standard students. Very smart questions they asked at the end. The lecture went well. I actually prepared my lecture in Marathi. At the end of the lecture, I was out. They wanted my autographs, IIT professor. I felt like a movie star, signing autographs. I was signing autographs, boys and girls. There was one boy who was just standing there. So I asked him, you want an autograph? He says, no sir. मला तुम्हाला काही प्रश्न विचारायचे आहेत. I want to ask you some questions. So I said, all right, you wait. I kept silent. Suddenly the organizers called me, the local MP who was the guest in the function, he was waiting for a cup of tea with me. He had to go and I was reminded that I also had to go back to IIT for some other meeting. So I got up and I started moving and this boy caught my hand. He said, sir, you promised to answer my question. I said, sorry, but that organizer is calling me, the MP is waiting. He said, sir, I have walked 10 kilometers to listen to your talk. I stopped in my track. I turned and said, why? You walked 10 kilometers, why did you walk? He said, oh, what is there? I walk 6 kilometers every day to my school. So then I said, but don't you have bus or rickshaw, some tum-tum, something like that? And in Marathi he says, Ahet sir, but parvadat nahi. Yes, there are facilities, but my family cannot afford those facilities. And then he proudly said, sir, I stand first in my class. I told the organizer to go and give tea to that MP and said, I spent time with this boy. I spent 10 minutes with him. His question was, what should I do to become an expert in information technology? So I said, your nice standards, study science, maths, get admission to engineering. I told him about joint entrance exam, this, that. I was pretty sure that he wanted to become an information technology expert because he had heard of good salaries that IT people get. But towards the end, after 10 minutes, he appeared satisfied. I just asked him, why do you want to become an IT expert? You know what was his answer? I'll first tell you the Marathi answer that he gave. Sir, तुमचे एक स्टुडंट आहेत नंदन निलेकणी, त्यांनी इन्फोसिस नावाची कंपनी बनवली आहे. मला त्याच्याहून मोठी कंपनी बनवायची आहे. You have a student called Nandan Nilekani who has set up a company called Infosys. I want to set up a company bigger than that. Can you see the aspiration? I tell you, each one of you is no less than that boy. You may not have walked 10 kilometers, but you have also worked hard. Now, how many such people are there in this country? One boy I met. How many have you met? And how many are there whom you have not met? In every school, in every class, in every division, don't you think that there will be 2 or 3 such capable, talented people who have aspirations like that? How many lakhs does it make? What are we doing for them? We would like to do something for all of them. Dakshana Foundation has done something for all of you. Please be very thankful for this, and as you grow prosperous, as you become leaders, please remember to do something for n number of boys and girls like that Vada boy, whose aspirations is what will make not only those boys and girls and their families, but the nation and the entire society. Thank you very much. God bless.